The morning they poured concrete across my access road, I knew the HOA had finally lost its mind. I was halfway through swapping out the radiator on my truck when I heard the jackhammers rattling, saw the mixer turning, and realized they were sealing me in like some kind of criminal. One slab of concrete, and suddenly I was a prisoner on my own land. I dropped my wrench and jogged down the hill. Grease still on my hands, and there she was. Tiffany Keller. Tall, wiry, wide-brimmed hat, shading eyes sharper than barbed wire gripping her clipboard like it was a weapon. "This road is closed," she said. Voice clipped and smug as if she'd been waiting for this showdown. My jaw clenched. "You don't have the authority to do this. My deed includes an easement. This road's been here since the 70s. She smirked, flipping a page. "The HOA voted. It's unsafe. It's done." I walked away before I said something I'd regret, but my blood boiled all night. That easement wasn't just a right-of-way, it was the artery of my life. Without it, I couldn't get supplies, couldn't haul engines, couldn't even drive to the grocery store without tearing through creeks and my neighbor's orchard. They wanted me cornered, humiliated, forced to bend. That night, I dug through every file box in my workshop. My dad's old folders, brittle. Maps yellowed deeds. The easement was right there in black ink, permanent right of access and egress. No sunset clause, no wiggle room. I should have felt reassured, but instead, a knot twisted in my gut. What if they still won? What if they buried me in red tape, or worse, convinced the neighbors I was the problem? The next morning, I went to the county office, and that's where the twist hit me like a wrench to the teeth. Right beside the HOA parcel was a 10-foot wide strip of land owned by some defunct landscaping company that hadn't paid taxes in years. And just that week, it had gone up for auction. I asked the clerk, "Is that strip available?" She squinted, then nodded. "Looks like it." I didn't even think. 2 weeks and $1,200 later, that strip was mine. One weekend of sweat and a rented grader, and I had a new road. Straight, graveled, solid. At the entrance, I bolted down a steel gate with a keypad and hung a shiny sign, "Private Access Toll Road, $20 entry." And here's the kicker: if you lived in the northern half of Ridgemont Hills, Tiffany included, that was the only way out. The look on her face the first time she pulled up in her Lexus sunglasses, hiding nothing jaw tight enough to crack teeth, was worth every shovel of gravel. "This is illegal," she hissed. I waved my county map. "Nope. I own it. You blocked my easement, so I built a new one. Want to fight it? Take me to court." She called me a thief, accused me of extortion. I smiled. "It's not extortion, Tiffany. It's business. Would you like a receipt?" She gunned the engine and drove off without paying. But a week later, she was back on foot, waving paperwork, snarling that I'd regret this. And for a while, she was right. The HOA doubled down, threatening lawsuits, calling me a danger to the community. Some neighbors avoided me, whispering that I'd gone rogue. I started wondering, had I? One night, sitting in the dark workshop with oil on my hands and a stack of useless letters from their lawyer, I felt myself slipping. What if I'd just made it worse? Maybe selling the land? Walking away, cutting my losses, that'd be the easy road. My father's old maps stared back at me from the workbench, and I thought about how he never once bent to bullies. If I gave up their concrete slab, wouldn't just bury my easement, it would bury his legacy. That's when the anger lit back up in me. No more retreating. If they wanted a war, they'd get one. I started digging into the HOA's finances. What I found was filth under every stone, or $15,000 for landscaping consultation to a company without a licensed one registered to Tiffany's cousin. $6,000 for a camera system that never existed. A golf cart, supposedly for grounds inspections, parked in Tiffany's garage, her son joyriding it to school. Every page I uncovered reeked of theft. Then came the allies I never expected. Reggie, a short man with a tan baseball cap, knocked on my door one Friday evening. He'd been on the HOA board decades ago, back when it was 10 houses and a gravel loop. "Been watching what you're doing," he said, setting down a battered box. Inside minutes from every meeting between 1986 and 1998, the original bylaws all handwritten. Proof that the HOA was never meant to control private roads. Reggie grinned. "Thought you might need this." I walked into the next HOA meeting with that box under my arm and my folder of evidence ready. Tiffany stood at the podium, navy blazer buttoned bun, pulled tight her gavel tapping like she was presiding over the Supreme Court. She declared my toll gate and unauthorized encroachment threatened legal action. I stood up. You mean the road I legally bought after you poured concrete over my easement? Heads turned. Murmurs rippled. Tiffany snapped, "You're not recognized." "Fine," I said. "Then let's talk about the $15,000 you paid a shell company registered to your cousin, or the golf cart in your garage, or the $6,000 for a security system that doesn't exist." I slapped down photocopies. The room went silent but for the ceiling fan creaking. One man in a flannel shirt leaned forward, eyes wide. "Wait, is this true?" I didn't stop. "You want to talk unauthorized use of property. Let's talk embezzlement. Fraud, abuse of trust." Tiffany's voice cracked as she tried to bark me down, but then another resident stood motioning to suspend the board until an audit was done. Someone else seconded. Tiffany froze gavel, hovering but powerless. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. The fallout was brutal. County investigators swooped in, seizing boxes of files from the clubhouse. The fire chief filed a complaint that blocking my easement violated emergency access laws, felony level. Within weeks, the board was stripped of power funds, frozen, and Tiffany forced to resign. Charges followed: falsified records, wire fraud, obstruction. The HOA crumbled overnight. And me, I tore down the toll fee, let the gate swing open free for every neighbor. Not for Tiffany, not for her cronies. They were out of the picture. But for the people who waved when they passed, who finally saw what I'd been fighting for. At the old blocked road, I hauled off their slab of concrete and planted a row of pecan trees. Roots grow deeper than Tiffany's little empire ever did. I stood there, dirt under my nails, sweat running down my back, and thought about how close I'd come to folding. How close we'd all come to letting a clipboard tyrant strangle an entire neighborhood. They wanted control. They got exposed. And the lesson's simple: abuse of power only wins when no one fights back.